can consume the conference and the presentations. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Judy Umlas. She's from USA. Thank you so much, Judy, for availing yourself to do the presentation. Over to you now.
Thank you, Dr. Telly, and I'm very, very excited to be here. And if the truth be told, I love every opportunity I get to speak about grateful leadership and the power of acknowledgement. I've written 3 books on the subject. I have lots of courses on it, an on-demand course, live full-day courses, 2-day courses, and I just love the message and the difference that this message makes and how people become enlivened, engaged, motivated, and inspired when we all practice grateful leadership. And I make you all a promise today. And I don't take this promise lightly, but this session that you're sitting at right now will be a catalyst for transformation. And you know, transformation is a one-way street. Once transformed, you cannot go back. So today your minds will open, your hearts will open, your spirits will open, and you will develop the tools to create a practice of grateful leadership, whether you are that way naturally or not. And it'll create a way for you also to be a better leader and to improve your ability to develop your own people, to inspire them, to motivate and to engage them. So the foundation of grateful leadership is the power of acknowledgement. Now, what do I mean by acknowledgement? I once went to deliver a class on to a bunch of lawyers of all people about leadership and the power of acknowledgement. And I started talking about this set of tools and this initiative and defining acknowledgement. And they said, well, that's not what we wanted you to talk about. We wanted you to talk about acknowledging other people's points of view. And I said, well, then I guess I'll go home. And they said, no, you might as well stay. Anyway, by the end of the session, they had asked me back for the following year, because acknowledgement is something that's so natural to the human spirit, and yet people withhold it all the time. What it is a heartfelt and authentic communication that lets a person know their value to the team, to the organization, to their family, to their community. And without that, they feel invisible, they feel unseen, they don't feel appreciated at all. So acknowledgement is essential as leaders, that we give this and that we overcome our barriers to giving acknowledgement profoundly and authentically. Now, I know the people at this esteemed conference are from all over the world, and you may be saying, well, in my culture, we don't do this. We don't have this practice. And in fact, that's what happened when I was on the program in Finland. And I got to the conference, my name was there, everybody knew I was going to be there. But when I got there and I was milling around before the program actually started, and people knew that I was the one speaking about this, they said, why don't you just take a tour of Helsinki and go home? Because acknowledgement does not exist in the Finnish culture. I said to myself, uh-oh, I better come up with something that makes them realize it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it exists or not. It's a human element that they need to practice. So I'm wondering, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm walking up in the podium, toward the podium. There are about 1,000 people there. And I get to the podium and I turn and look at them very closely and I say, I've been told that acknowledgement does not exist in the Finnish culture. Is that true? And 1,000 heads went like this. And I said, I've also heard that Finland has one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Is that true? And the heads nodded a little bit more slowly. And then I said, do you think there might be some connection between those two facts? And suddenly the room was buzzing. I could never have imagined the impact that that connection made for them. And the minute I asked people to share responses to questions, they would go, I called on them, they would say, I have to acknowledge my boss. He's sitting right here and I've never told him how great he is. And they would have spent the rest of the session acknowledging their bosses, their coworkers, their family members. And they got on a very profound level the difference that acknowledgement makes. So I just want to say, whatever your culture, it does not matter. What is a grateful leader? A grateful leader wants to know his or her people in a very profound way. He or she wants to know who they are, what they're dealing with, what their challenges are, what they're looking forward to, and the grateful leader will profoundly acknowledge and appreciate, show appreciation and gratitude toward their people. So this is something that either comes naturally to us or it doesn't, but it doesn't matter whether it's natural or not. And grateful leadership is a wonderful results-oriented way of motivating, inspiring, and engaging people. And it really makes a difference with innovation because you create a psychological safety for your people to fail. They have permission to fail when they are psychologically safe. And you are their leader, their grateful leader, who appreciates who they are and allows them to make mistakes. And it improves quality because people are much more connected to the mission and purpose of the organization. Now I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about this appreciation paradigm because people get confused between simple thanks, recognition, and acknowledgement. Simple thanks is what we were all taught as children. Please and thank you. Our parents, taught us that from the earliest of ages. And in general, people are pretty good at it. Not great. Sometimes, our colleagues forget to thank us when we've worked hard or done something, that's above and beyond. But they still, it's easy. It's easy for people to do. Recognition is letting a person know you appreciate what they did, what their actions were. Thank you for getting that report in early. That really helped our team. Thank you very much. That kind of thing. What you did helped the organization, helped the team, helped me as your leader. Acknowledgement, as we've said, is a heartfelt communication. It's authentic. It can never be made up on the spot to get people to work harder because people recognize that false acknowledgement right away. And it really is not an acknowledgement, it's a manipulation and they don't like it. So it has to be truthful. And an acknowledgement is always about the human being. What does that person have that really makes them invaluable? I really appreciate, for example, how much energy you bring to our team. I can always count on you to wake us up and to be the kind of person who's never going to just take no for an answer. You really have such a spirit and a spark. I thank you for that. You are an incredible performer and a team member. So those are the distinctions. And a couple of years ago, I was brought to Bayer Environmental Science to do a 2-day workshop on grateful leadership and the power of acknowledgement. And I want to just see if I can play this video. I can play the video, and when we rehearsed it with UCG, people could hear the audio, but I don't always count on it. So you can't hear the audio. I will read you what he says. It's only 42 seconds long, but Gökhan Virgan, head of EMA for Bayer Environmental Science, was very taken with this 2-day workshop. So let's take a quick look. And this is the group I trained. They were beautiful. They were energetic. They were so spirited and so appreciative of this session that their leader brought in for them, because it was not known to their industry. So let's try to play. And can those of you I can see right here, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. If not, I'll read it. As I said, it's very short, but I'd like you to be able to hear it. No? Okay, I'm sorry. It worked during rehearsal, but I'm going to just read you what he said. He said, grateful leadership is totally in line with our people's tradition. And today I'm happy to see that all of our attendees are welcome and have accepted the idea. And my personal takeaway is that, first of all, I really understand the difference now between recognition and acknowledgement. And to be able to correctly acknowledge people, I need to know people better and to care about them. And the last one is that I think we need to always keep this idea in mind, and we need to keep it in the air. We need to think about this until it becomes a habit. So I thank you for the instructor and the organization, and I will try my best to be a grateful leader in my life. And what Gökhan brings up that's very critical is that this is not just for your work. Once you get the concept of grateful leadership and the power of acknowledgement, you will start practicing it at home, in a coffee shop, wherever you are. I had one participant in one of my courses write me an email the next day and say, thank you for changing my relationship with my wife. It's so much better now. And I went, wow, that's not part of the curriculum, but it really, it did the trick. And I want to talk to you about the Gallup organization and its studies of employee engagement. They've been doing this for 30 years. They've studied millions of people. And what they do is find out by a series of questions, it's called the Q12 survey, and they find out who's engaged, how many people in an organization are engaged. And these latest statistics show that over 52% are not engaged. Only 35% are engaged. And that's actually the highest number I think it's ever been, 35%. So we have a long way to go. And I believe that engagement is a function of appreciation. How appreciated people feel determines how engaged they are, how valued for their contribution. And then, of course, the actively disengaged are a small number, thankfully, 13%. But those people can be real problems for any organization. And I just want to make it clear that the 52% could go up to 80% if all of us practice grateful leadership and the power of acknowledgement. It's that simple. That's my firm belief. And I've seen a lot of evidence to make that clear. Gallup also determined that in 1 year, disengaged employees, that 13%, the yellow slice of the pie, wastes $450 to $550 billion as a result of their lack of productivity. And one of the key reasons why people leave their jobs, after we work so hard to onboard them, to train them, to give them all the knowledge they need to do their jobs well, and then they just say bye. And why is that? Because they don't feel appreciated. Now, I want to try to do a quick survey with you right now that'll give us some valuable information. And this is adapted from the Gallup Q12 survey. And what I'd like you to do is answer first this question, and you can only choose one response. I have been recognized, praised, or acknowledged for good work within the past week, month, year, or not at all. So let's look at the chat. Okay, everybody go to the chat, and I'd love to get your responses so I can get an idea. Just put week, month, year, or not at all. Month. I see month quite often. Week. I've got 1 week, 1 month. And let's see. We have about 20 participants, so I would love to see quite a few more. Week, month. Anybody else? Another week. Here we go. Most often I see within the last month as a response. And I'll tell you, a couple of times I got a not at all. And I'll never forget. In fact, I was at a power company in Finland, and one person said not at all. And everybody in her session got out of their seats and they came down to her. She was in the front row. They were like in the theater style. And they said, what do you mean? You're the best person who ever had this job. How could you say no one's ever acknowledged you? And she said, I wish I had known how you felt before I gave my notice. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. And it was too late, and we don't want it to be too late. Okay, so now the next question is one we have more control over, and that is, I have recognized, praised, or acknowledged someone else for good work within the past week, month, year, or not at all. So what do we say about that? Yeah, let's see if we get some new responses now. Week, week, week. See, this is bad. Look at the week, 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 week. The week, 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 week is strong. Okay, here's with a month. Now, anybody who puts a month or within the past year can make big improvements. Before you go home today, or if you are home, if you're working remotely, just sit at your desk and write an acknowledgement to somebody. So this one you have total control over. Okay, now we have one last question. And this was a survey that we did as part of our on-demand Grateful Leadership course in 2015 and 16. And this was, I left a job due to lack of appreciation, true or false. More than 50% of the people that we surveyed, and there were 5,000 people in that course, and more than half of them said, this is true. I left a job due to lack of appreciation. That is something that we can so easily fix. Now I'm going to go over a tool that I call the 5 C's. And this is something that makes it very concrete. If you were saying, this all sounds great, but how am I going to do it? Give me some rules. Well, these are tools, not rules, okay? So first is for consciousness, and I'm going to go into a little more detail after I just go through them, where we just become aware of the acknowledgements floating through our mind that we don't deliver. Second C is for choice. You always have the capability of choosing yes or no. I can't take that away from you, even though I'd like to. I'd like to say you can only choose yes, but that's entirely up to you. Third is courage, and we'll go into that in a little more depth in a moment. And it sometimes takes courage to be vulnerable enough to let another person know how you really feel about them. And sometimes you as a leader will be moved emotionally. Sometimes your recipient will actually cry. They're so moved, they're moved to tears. And then communication is just how you're going to let them know. Is it going to be through voicemail or email or text? You know, there's so many options. And the fifth one is for commitment. And this is where you say, I am going to make this a real offering in our company. I'm going to make it part of our culture. Everybody who comes to work here will feel appreciated and will know that they are wanted and needed. So I'm just going to go through those in a little bit more depth now. So consciousness, and I would invite you to think of someone that you have thought positive thoughts about in the last couple of days. And if you have an example of that, you know, somebody you thought about and like, what a great team member that person is. Oh, I couldn't live without them. Oh, thank goodness that they came to work in this company and they're still here after 22 years. You know, that person, if you would just put that in the chat, I'd love to see if you come up with anybody. Choice. Now, as I said, you will always be able to choose yes or no. And, you know, I would love to urge you to choose yes at least 97.6% of the time. It will make a big difference. And don't let your excuses, which we're going to go into in a moment, get in the way. Don't let that stop you, okay? The choice will always be yours, but you need to choose yes. That's my real advice and wishes for you, because it makes such a huge difference. Courage is one that's really critical. And that's when we go deep, when we're not just saying thank you or great job. This is when you're opening your heart to a person and really letting them know the difference that they make. And I'm not sure if you've heard of the social scientist Brene Brown. She's affiliated with the University of Houston. And she talks about the power of vulnerability. She says we can't know things like love and belonging and creativity and joy without vulnerability. And that's an amazing observation and conviction on her part. And she studied it. She studied thousands of people, and this is what she came away with. She's written many books. So think about that. And, you know, as I said before, we all have excuses for withholding acknowledgement. And I would love to get some of yours. Can you tell us, oops, sorry. Let me just go back to my other screen. Okay. So can you tell us what some of your excuses are? I hear busyness as a main one. And sorry, it just jumped ahead. What are your excuses? And I would like to see in the chat. Okay, I'm having a little trouble accessing the chat right now. Sorry about that. Okay, let's take a quick look. Any excuse, forgetfulness. Oh, that's a perfect one. And let me tell you something. This is really critical. There is no expiration on an acknowledgement. If there was some acknowledgement you are now remembering that you wanted to deliver to somebody from 20 years ago, find them and do it. And I mean that. I've seen it happen in my classes. It's just amazing. And I'd love to see you get over the forgetfulness. What else stops you? What's another excuse? A reason for not acknowledging people. Does anybody have one? I mean, I hear all kinds of crazy things like, well, I don't want them to you know, think they're so good that they'll want more money. I mean, it's not crazy. It's understandable. Okay, here's some good ones. Let me just put my glasses on. The other person's attitude sometimes. Okay, I'd love to know a little bit more about that. If you can tell me a little more about what you mean. Are they, yeah, some people are afraid that the other person will feel more, you know, better and stronger, and they're like they're worth more than the person delivering the acknowledgement. So we have to just let them feel better and stronger. It doesn't matter. And I have trouble saying no. That's an interesting one. So if you acknowledge them profoundly and then they ask you for something, that's a little bit of a scary prospect, I guess. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I focus too much. That could be interpreted several different ways, but I focus too much on the other person and not enough on the job that needs to be done. But anyway, these are great, excuses. We all have great excuses. I had a person in one of my courses say, I don't acknowledge people. I don't like being that close to them. They smell bad. I mean, we're very creative when it comes to our excuses. I think I gave her a prize for most creative excuse. Okay, so now the communications, that's easy. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Skype or skywriting. It could be anything. And don't forget face-to-face. And I'm having a speaker next week on our monthly webinar. We have a Center for Grateful Leadership. His name is Doug Conant. He was the former CEO of Campbell's Soup Company. And he wrote 30,000 letters of appreciation to his employees while he held that position. 30,000, and he was there for, I think it was 11 years. So he used to write them on he had a long commute. He wrote them on the way to work and on the way home. Handwritten. Don't forget handwritten notes. People treasure them. I mean, sometimes they look at it like, what is this? And then the last one is commitment. And as grateful leaders, we need to commit ourselves to this discipline, to this initiative. Are we going to change our culture if it's not that way already? And all it takes is one person to change an entire culture, because you start motivating and inspiring your team, and then they are, glowing, and people want to know what's going on that team, what is happening, and then you share the 5 C's, and you should all have received the poster of the 5 C's. I saw it come around. The conference organizers sent that to you. It was a couple of days ago, and it is part of the Grateful Leadership presentation. And then a colleague of mine wrote an article for the Wharton Healthcare Management Alumni Association. And it's about the neuroscience of gratitude. And that is one of the growing bodies of work related to gratitude, because people are studying it. Robert Emmons in California has really done scientific analyses of what happens when people are shown gratitude and appreciation. And the way my colleague, Linda Rozak-Burton, described it, she said it's a neurochemical cocktail that enhances employee engagement and organizational performance. And she said you get your shot of dopamine. Now, dopamine is a chemical messenger, and that's how we feel pleasure. And I read an article by the Gallup Business Journal. They said when you experience appreciation, you get a dopamine drench, and you get drenched with that chemical, which is a delightful state. You feel so good. And a swig of serotonin, that's a natural mood stabilizer. It makes us all feel calm and happy and, you know, able to handle anything. And then she said the other part of the cocktail is an ounce of oxytocin. And that's the love chemical, the love hormone, the bonding, the coupling hormone. Now, you know, we don't do a lot of physical bonding at work these days, and probably weren't doing it before anyway, but the hormonal release is the, you know, the bonding, and it has the team get along better. Now, I want to take a few minutes to have us think of somebody that we really have not shown our gratitude and appreciation to. This is somebody that, let's say, you know, it could be on your current team, it could be in your, you know, first job, it could be anywhere. But I want you to think specifically about a person now. And we're actually going to write to that person and get them. We want to go to the chat, and I don't know if we can actually speak. Okay, we have the chat here. Dr. Telly or whoever else can make the decision. I'm happy to hear people speak. But if they don't want to speak, they can put a chat, and it'd be like, dear Marge, I want to let you know what a phenomenal influence you have been. I just want you to write 2 or 3 sentences right here in the chat, or else if we can have people raise their hand. And I'm not quite sure if I will see all the hands, but yeah, most people are not on video, so I might not see your hands, but would you start writing a brief acknowledgement directly to that person? You need to have the 3rd C, which is courage, because I'm asking you to publicly acknowledge somebody in your life. And I have to tell you, in one of my courses at a manufacturing company, I had somebody write, we do it in our day-long course, she did a whole page writing to her 5th grade teacher, because at the time there was a lot going on in her family. She was really suffering from her parents' divorce, and this teacher made a huge difference. And she had tried for years to reach that teacher and didn't know how. And somebody in the session went over to her and said, okay, what's the teacher's name? What school did you go to? What year was it? And by the end of the day, she had not only found the teacher for her classmate, but she had had a conversation with her and had actually hooked the 2 of them up. And it was just the most amazing thing. I've seen miracles come from this. Now, I just want to read 1 or 2 of them. Oh, okay, now the slides, let me just go back to the slides. Here we go. All right. But I want to be able to see the chat also. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just staying on that one slide for now. So, and I want to make sure I can read what people have written. Oh, well, Dr. Tangi, well, this is private. Do I have your permission to read it or no? I don't know who this is to. Do we have a thumbs up? Oh, yes, thank you. Who is this to, Dr. Tangi? Just give us the kind of the title or the name of the person. It doesn't have to be their last name, but your first boss or anyone. And Imal, let's see. Oh, this is lovely. Amal, to my chemistry teacher, please write a few lines to your chemistry teacher, Amal. And I see somebody else who said, to my sister, my boss. Oh, this is wonderful. But can you actually write? I want you to start writing. And okay, so Dr. Tangi said, you have really made a difference to the way our mission was completed and so successfully. Let me give you my most sincere thanks for this. That's lovely. And who was this person, Dr. Tangi? Just type it in if you would. Who is it that you're acknowledging? Just so we have an idea. And Dr. Fuzi, your mentor, wonderful. Let's hear what you can say to your mentor, because the goal of this exercise is for you to leave this session and deliver this acknowledgement. That would be very important and much appreciated. You can't believe people's responses. It turned out that that 5th grade teacher said she always wondered how her student was doing and worried about her. It had been like 30 years, and she was so thrilled to hear from her. So that's the kind of thing that we love to hear. And these are all great people. And Dr. Fuzi said, to my mentor, I came up this far because of Miss Maria. I am so thankful. And when you're communicating this to Miss Maria, you want to say really explicitly what she did that profoundly affected you. This is wonderful, really wonderful. And to my ex-boss, you really made a difference to the way the mission was completed and so successfully. My ex-boss, yes, I'll bet you missed that ex-boss. And Amal says, let me just see who we were talking about. Chemistry teacher. She is so kind and supportive. Wonderful. And if you can find that person. I have kind of a little private detective agency. If you need help finding somebody, we've turned out a bunch of people. And okay, so anybody else? I'd love to see some more. I would like everybody. Manar says, to my supervisor. And these are wonderful. Someone else says, to my sister. Okay, all right. Well, this is great. And I want to tell you all just a little bit about our Center for Grateful Leadership. It's free, but the experience of it is priceless. And I invite you all to come to the Grateful Leadership website and join this initiative. And I do a weekly podcast, and maybe somebody here should be on that podcast. And also we have a monthly webinar that next week, as I mentioned, August 13th, or 2 weeks from now, we're having Doug Conant, he now is his own Conant Leadership Company, but he was the former CEO of Campbell's Soup Company. And he did some amazing things while he was there. And this is how you can reach me. I've given you many different ways. Email is probably the easiest. And please, if you want to find out more about Grateful Leadership, if you want to join our center and be part of our activities, or if you'd like to recommend me on LinkedIn, I'd be very grateful and appreciative. And now I'm going to open this discussion up to questions. Does anybody have any questions? And I think if we raise hands, we could actually speak. Okay, Tangi. And then is it Mr.? You said it's not Doctor. What? Who are you?
No, it's Ian Tong.
Ian. Oh, Tong. Okay. All right.
Tong is my nickname.
Oh, does that mean you talk a lot?
You kind of guessed it.
Good. I love to hear people talk a lot when it's about leadership.
We didn't see your screen that had your email address and what have you on it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
We couldn't see that.
Oh, can you see it now?
Nope.
No. Oh dear. I'm not sure why that's. Can you see the grateful leadership slide?
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Have you hit the share screen button in the middle?
I'll go back to share screen.
Is your
Let me
screen shared?
make sure that
Share.
okay, that may have been it. Thank you. Okay, so now
We can now see it, yes.
okay. And oh, now look, I just noticed this in the chat from Dr. Fauzi. You were too good. I will call my mentor today and praise her. Oh, that's the response I want to hear from all of you. That's awesome. Because each acknowledgement of that nature changes the world. It's like, you know, you throw some pebbles into a pond and the waves, the ripples go out and out and out. So that is amazing. And Willis Thomas, hello, Willis. I'm actually here because Willis recommended me, Dr. Willis Thomas, and he's a wonderful colleague of mine. And yes, there's a forum for grateful leadership where you can learn more, and that would be this little grateful leadership website. And I'm assuming you can all see that now. Anybody else want to really make a difference in the world and commit to delivering their appreciation today to somebody? I would love to see more like Dr. Fauzi. And
if it is going to make a difference, Judy, if it is going to make a difference, seriously, I would like to, at this moment in time, give my most endearing thanks to the people who run the National Lottery, and hope very much that as a result of doing that, I'll win it on Saturday.
I can't promise that. That kind of effect is not guaranteed, but everything else is. If you want to acknowledge the people who run the lottery because of the great job they're doing and the logistics and the dedication.
Oh, the charitable work they do, yeah.
Yeah, that's a different story. That will make a difference. But anybody else ready to go out and acknowledge? Yes, that's right. You can join Grateful Leadership here, www.gratefulleadership.com. Thank you very much. And I just want to make sure you all got the poster of the 5 C's, because I've heard amazing things that people do with that poster. It's downloadable. You can give it to the world. And some people shrink it down and they put it on their laptop keyboards, so it stares at them all the time, and they think, oh yeah, who can I acknowledge today? Some people put it on their office doors, so both inside and outside, so that when they walk in or people walk by, they see it in the inside door, so when they're working, they see it. And at one, I was at a pharmaceutical company, and it was adjoining a Starbucks. And they got the Starbucks there to put a 5-foot poster of the 5 C's on their door. It was up for a couple of weeks. It was just amazing. So that little poster is really important. And I'd like to know if you have received that. You may have received it and not realized what it was associated with, but maybe maybe that could be resent to people. But it's if you go to www.gratefulleadership.com, you'll see there's a downloadable poster on the website. If you have any trouble, just email me and I'll send it to you directly.
Judy,
Yes.
Dr. Telly here.
Hi.
You know what? I really want to thank you for a wonderful presentation. I never knew there's a difference between acknowledgement and recognition, and the way you put it, it's now so clear in my mind.
Oh.
And I must say, I know of people that felt like leaving the profession of nursing just because they are not recognized, you know, for the hard work that they are doing. So this is wonderful, and I'm definitely going to join the Grateful Leadership group. And yeah, thank you so much for enlightening us with regard to this, the power of acknowledgement. And
And I
I'll
just wanna say-
definitely improve skills
Sorry,
to
go-
acknowledge people.
I'm so glad. And Dr. Telly, what you bring up is so important. And in fact, I'm creating a course that is about acknowledging frontline workers. So especially in this pandemic, we know
Yes.
self-sacrificing nature of their work and, you know, the toll that it takes on their human spirit. It's devastating. So without appreciation and acknowledgement, it's very hard for them to continue what they're doing.